Hi everyone, I'm Scott Schneider. This is Stereo Niche. Hey, this week, taking a look at some high-end collectibles. Some of those come from brands like Western Electric and Nakamichi, so stick around. Hi everyone. Well, you may have missed my video last week because I didn't put one out. Sitting around dealing with COVID last week. It was, quite an interesting week, but on the mend here. Little scores, throat's a little scratchy, I guess, but otherwise doing pretty good. So I did have a chance to finish the video I started last week. It's going to be on a Fisher tube item. I won't tell you what that is yet, but stick around for next week and that'll be in the video. So this week I thought I would put a short video together, some recent high-end collectibles that have sold that I was monitoring. Some cool stuff, some things you aren't exactly audio related, but they're collectible. Something from Nakamichi and Western Electric. So some really high-end, pretty expensive things, and I thought we would kind of take a look at those. And then as we kind of get ready for the Fisher review next week. So kicking us off, the very first item is an 1895 Berliner Gramophone. Now this is the very, very early era of audio. And so this is a hand-wind gramophone in the original box. And again, anytime you have the original box, it always sells for, more than a typical item. So that's what we're looking at here. This item sold for $25,000. Quite expensive. I don't know if that's usual. I don't track these things, but it caught my eye, so I thought I would list it out here. And as the history of recorded sound goes, this machine is pretty much where it all began. It says even Edison, even though he invented the tinfoil phonograph in 1877 and perfected it a dozen years later, but the Edison was recorded and played on cylinders, right? I do have one of those. It's non-working, but I have one of those units. But this one is a disc, and this was apparently from Berliner, Emil Berliner, and he was a visionary whose genius extended far beyond the realm of recorded sound, and who put into motion technology that would forever change the face of entertainment. So quite a mark he put on the industry, I guess. But one of the things I want to denote too, take a look at the quality of the pictures that the seller put together here. I think it should be expected if you're going to spend this kind of money that the seller would put some good effort in trying to put some quality pictures, very clear, many pictures, so you can see exactly what you're buying. And I'm denoting that here because this is an exceptional ad, and he went, I don't know that I would say far above, but I think he hit the mark for sure on putting together a quality ad so you could see the item very clearly, knowing what you're going to get, and the condition that it's in. He put some good detailed notes here, but the pictures typically, as they say, tell 1,000 words. So a lot of great pictures, very close-up shots as well. Here's one of the early cartridge, I guess. Obviously not a cartridge, but close-ups of every angle, and I think that's to be commended for doing what you would kind of expect, which is going to be contrary to some of the other things we're going to see. But in this picture, I don't know why that looks like a 45 adapter there, but obviously it's not. But kind of interesting that that little disc is there. I'm not sure what that's for. But anyway, very good pictures. Here's a nice close-up of the horn and the box that it fits into, the original box. And then it can go all inside and be taken and moved and shipped around if you were back in the day. I'm pretty sure probably some very big collector probably bought this for his own collection, his or her own collection, and paid a good sum for it. But it looks like a very nice example of this era. Probably one of very few that has all pretty much intact, it looks like. But again, $25,000 for this gramophone. So a nice sale there. Now moving into the Nakamichi 1000 ZXL Limited. Now the 1000 ZXL standard, I guess, which I have a couple of those, is a very high-end cassette unit. It's, I think, considered one of the very best that Nakamichi ever made. But then they released this limited version. And according to the Vintage Sound, I went out and checked out some feedback on that site, which is a great website, by the way. So the upgrades for this consist of gold plating treatments on the front, the chassis, the flywheels, heads, shielding, and terminals. Lots of gold plating all around. Corrosion and vibration care were sandwiched aluminum, black alumite for the transport, chromate for the chassis, solid brass flywheels, hand-picked parts, you name it. This thing, they seem to go all out. Including putting a personal engraved nameplate under the cassette window. I'll show you a picture in a minute, but it'll have Nero Nakamichi's name on that particular unit. I guess he had his own made, but it was not, of course, inexpensive. These were not something you could go to the store and buy. You had to special order them from Japan, according to the information here. And they sold for $6,000 back in 1981, I think it was. So that was more than the majority of cars. That was not inexpensive at all. I mean, that was way up there, actually, not even, it's more than inexpensive. So obviously very limited numbers. Doesn't say how many were produced, but ironically, I have seen quite a few of these go up for sale. This is the first one I've seen sell, though. And so I mentioned earlier the quality of the pictures. Well, that's not in this case. Surprisingly, something of this price range, I thought, I mean, the pictures are horrible. Look at this. They're not even, well positioned, and then they're blurry on top of that. But in any case, this is what it looked like, and it sold, for that kind of money. It's pretty amazing that, such low effort sells for that. And here's a picture of the picture I pulled off of the vintage knob to give you a clear shot of how beautiful this unit really is when you can at least back up and see the whole thing. But oddly enough, at the very end in the notes of the sale, the seller said it is a junk item. It doesn't even work. It's for parts only. So quite amazing. I actually recall units well under 10,000 just several years ago. I don't remember them selling, but kind of surprised this unit sold for that, non-working. But in any case, Nakamichi 1000 ZXL Limited sold for $16,000 junk for parts from Japan. Pretty amazing. Now, the next item here, not something that is audio, but it came up in my search, and so it caught my eye, and I thought it was quite cool. A Unicom 141P calculator. Now, I've known people that collect calculators. I don't know how big is the collector market, but I'm aware that people have been collecting calculators for quite some time, probably since they came out. But this particular unit looks like a vast majority of the units I saw on just about every accountant's desk back from the 80s all the way through the 2000s, I think. And there are probably still some today that still, rely on confirming some things with the paper roll and all of that. But this unit sold for $15,000. Pretty amazing. I have to assume, because I have no other way to think about it, is that they must be exceedingly rare. The seller here did mention that it was, sort of the prize of his collection. But he took some very nice pictures. Has it displayed in this, this acrylic cover to keep the dust off, and obviously that just, to me, right off the bat, says it was well cared for and well cherished. And then he took, very close-up pictures of all sides, and then put each one of those, in the picture here, and even took the thing apart, took the cover off, and then laid it out very nice, so you can sort of get a visual confirmation, at least, of what the internals look like and what's coming. And again, ironically, it's a unit that was not fully functional. He says the keyboard doesn't actually work, but must be rare enough and sought after that it was able to sell for 15,000. So pretty cool stuff. So that's the Unicom 141P. Next up is this Western Electric C23 mixing console. Now, if you're not familiar with sort of collectibles, Western Electric items of just about anything related to audio is highly sought after. Western Electric of that era, they had extremely high specs for everything they manufactured, and it was just considered sort of the pinnacle of, specs of that time frame. And everything by them, I understand, I believe has the WE or Western Electric name on it as well. It's always stamped on there, so you know it's authentic. But this is a mixing console, which I think is fairly rare. So it's for multiple microphones. I think they would have used this in a sort of a recording studio of some sort. And I can only imagine it's a pretty rare item. And probably, well, based just on the selling price here of 15K, I would say it's fairly sought after. 14K, sorry. Not a lot of pictures. Again, I think selling something of this value could have spent time taking more pictures for something in this price range. But again, it's at least they're fairly clear. They're not, blurry. They did at least put some clear shots in here. I think but it's not many. It's only like five or so shots. But this looks very similar to the RCA console that was in the Julian Burke, the collector I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. He has a massive collection. He had an RCA radio station console that I looked at it and showcased in the video. Looks very similar. That was much larger. That was a later unit from around the 50s, whereas this is from the 40s. But kind of cool. Reminded me sort of that unit. But in any case, this is the Western Electric C23 tube console, sold for $14,000. All right, well, there you go. Kind of a summary of some cool stuff that sold recently. $15,000 for a calculator. That's pretty impressive. It's not something I can judge. I don't know if that's normal or if that's kind of unusual. I have no idea, but thought it was pretty cool to see something like that that's not in audio show up in my search. And now I do know that, hey, there's some pretty high-end collectibles out there in the calculator area. So that was kind of cool. I do remember them. I mean, it looked to me like every other calculator I remember seeing on, my tax man's desk or something. But any case, now if I ever see a Unicom, I'm going to, think, is that one a highly collectible one or not? I don't know. But the Western Electric, not a surprise. Anything Western Electric, I've seen Western Electric wire sell for, a good amount of money. So just about anything from Western Electric, highly collectible for the most part. The Nakamichi, again, that's also not a surprise. Surprising it sold for that much non-working. That does, junk as the seller articulated. But surprising it sold for that amount. I do recall seeing quite a few under 10K, but I did not recall them actually selling. So anyway, quite interesting to see it sell for that price. The other unit, let's see, what was it? Oh, the Gramophone. Quite cool. I've seen that era of gear, the very early Gramophone type, Edison type players. Not something I've ever been interested in collecting, but I do see them out there quite a bit. I would like to find a really nice breadboard radio at some point. I think they just look cool. Not that I would ever actually use it, but I'd like it for display in my my showroom. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. A little trip down, collectible, high-end collectible lane. If you don't want to miss the upcoming Fisher video, you better hit subscribe so you don't miss it. That'll be out next week. Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next time.